These are three wonderful films. They're different but similar in certain ways, which we'll cover. But start by just telling me a little bit about how each of these projects came together.
Yeah, I made my film Greyhound in partnership with Ghetto Film School for the 2001 Freeze Film Award. It was a really dope fellowship that I did. And they basically gave us this prompt to make a film about change. And as you'll see, it's a very small film about, essentially about me getting ready to go to college when I was a young boy. And all of the change that comes along with that, all of the fear, all of the anxiety, all the excitement of knowing that you're about to kind of become an adult and knowing that you're going to leave your home and when you come back it's never going to be the same. And TJ to my left is a fantastic producer, a very close friend of mine. And I met her during my year of Project Involved in 2020, middle of COVID, baby. So that's how we do it. And she and I did not work together because she didn't care for my talents at the time. But I convinced her with my work ethic and charm, and we have since worked together on Greyhound, and she made it happen for me, so I'm grateful for it.
So the real story is that Diante sent me a text message and said, hey, very cryptic, like I want to talk to you about something. I was like, oh, okay. So he calls me and he's like, hey, he's like, not really, just not coherent, not making sense. And he's like, I need some, I want you to, he's like, I need some money for this film. And I'm like, out of all the people you know, like, I'm the one who looks like I'm the best to write a check for this. And it was near the holidays, like, in my life, it wasn't the most opportune time to write a check. But if you know Diante, you know that he is so talented. And I don't even think you told me what the film was about before I said yes. I tried to.
I said, can I send you the script first? And she said, yeah, you can send it to me. And I pulled up my phone and sent her the script, and I already got a cash out for the full budget of the film. So she's a real one.
So I believe our short, Dear Mom, was the only short produced in Project Involved. This is a Project Involved 2021 short film, and so all of the core collaborators, we all met in this program and in this fellowship, and it was all happening virtually in the Zoom space, which was kind of terrifying, right? It's like folks you've never met in person, and we're doing this work that is so vulnerable, and we're trying to tell the best story possible, but I got so lucky with this team. I mean, everybody involved really wanted to be there and really wanted to fight to tell the best story possible. And so our writer, Charmaine, who is here, brought us this really beautiful concept about a family navigating pain on the day that Tupac passes away in the 90s. And so that is the world in which our film takes place. So telling this, I guess, period story is the 90s period? No.
Yes.
I'll take it. Telling this period story and even prepping that in the virtual space with like these new friends that you've met in the virtual space was scary. But I think coming onto that set, we all just like locked in and created something we're all very proud of. So we're happy to be here and to share the work.
So Silk was my actual thesis film at USC that initially I wanted to tell a story about the complexities of a family and having grown up in South Korea. I thought I had to shoot in LA, and so I was trying to write a story about a Korean American family, and I was struggling with the producer when they said, why don't we just go and shoot the film in Korea? So I threw out my script and started rewriting the story all over again. Flew to South Korea over Thanksgiving break and missed all my classes and just started prepping my movie there. And 2 months later, or 1 month later, we shot the film.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, and I'm curious a little bit if you want to talk about sort of what aspects of sort of Project Involved.
Yeah, I think I think it taught me not to be afraid to pick up the phone and ask people for money.
Huge.
I think it also, it really has, my network of creatives has really expanded, especially for someone like me who didn't go to film school and isn't necessarily the best at networking and meeting people in the real world. This gave me a really, really amazing opportunity to meet just like world-class creatives who are also just ride or dies. And TJ is just one of them, but I have a lot of friends from Project Involved that I really love and that I really go to for everything, creative or otherwise. And so that's been the biggest thing is feeling like I have a foundation of people who are really about this.
I think for me, when I first moved to LA almost 8 years ago, Film Independent was one of the first organizations that I was encouraged to join. And before I even got into Project Involved, it became a little bit of a community. Like I would go to the events, I would go to the educational series. And so when I got into Project Involved, echoing Diante's sentiments, like I didn't go to film school. So that kind of became my film community. It was kind of like my gym in a sense, my film school in a sense. And so I met so many great people out of there. I also learned how to do a lot with a little. If you know, you know. And so I think for me, it's organizations like this, especially that reach to people who are underrepresented in the community, are so important because there's not a lot of that. And if you don't have organizations like this, it's a lot more difficult to do things in this industry. So I'm extremely grateful.
Same here. I mean, walking away from Project Involved with a real community, I also did not go to film school. I went to drama school. So I have a beautiful collection of actors I know and like talking about work from that perspective. But I too would find myself like, I want to like talk through an idea or like, I want to make something, or I just need folks I can like tap in with and they'll sit with me in the mud and really get dirty with the work. And so it was really, it was exciting to walk away from this program with collaborators and with friends who like want it and love it. And they're like, call me with the nerdy questions. Like, I want to talk about it, you know? And so that's been so special. And then same here with Film Independent, the organization. They've just been so supportive and even given us spaces like this to share our work and to talk about our work at the DGA. Like, this is not normal or casual. And I think we're all, I would say, grateful to be a part of this and to, you know, be collaborative with Film Independent. So that I'm really grateful for.
Lovely. It's a great commercial for Project.
So I'm still in the program, so we'll see how it goes. No, I just like everyone said, I met so many great collaborators, and having never been in a program like this, it was like I didn't know it was possible to have such a support system, and like just to find out like, oh, we don't have to worry about camera packages. What? Like from that to also being able to meet other creators, but also specifically Asian American creators that are in the program. I think Film Independent does a really good job, or Project Involved does a really good job making sure to like find those people and those voices. So yeah.
Let's talk a little about the films that are going to be presented tonight. You will have to imagine and then realize what we're talking about later. But I'm going to do my best to involve you in these films that we've already seen. I want to talk a little bit about the visual language that you all developed, because I think that these three shorts have really, very distinctive visual voices. The Greyhound we have in black and white. In Silk, I feel like there's an image, if you can all imagine with me, of a neon sign. You'll see this later. That really sticks with you. A lot of muted colors, and then really, very striking, bright images. And then Winter and I were even just talking a little bit about the color palette in Dear Mama. Talk to me about how you developed these visual identities for the films and how you matched it to the stories you're trying to tell.
Yeah, my film is in black and white. It's one of many black and white films I've made. It's the only one I've made black and white on purpose, with like intention and artistic merit. I think for me, this is a story that essentially represents a time capsule for me. And when you watch like those old black and white films from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, which I watch a lot of, they have this like otherworldly quality to them. right? They don't feel nearly as immediate as the color films of the 60s and the 70s, and then obviously later. And so you really feel transported when you watch like an old Humphrey Bogart movie or something like that. And so for me, I wanted to tap into that because the story is in my mind kind of like an old removed film. And so I wanted people to watch and feel like they were being transported to a time before. And not only that, it is, though it's technically a time capsule film, takes place in the 2000s.
Period piece.
Period piece is what I meant to say. I didn't have the time or energy or skill to like really commit to that. And so having it be black and white, I think for me was a way to like, just like capture that feeling. And not just that, but like black folk look really beautiful in black and white. It's just as gorgeous to look at. And it's one of the few, I think, like visual or color languages that like, from the get-go just benefits black folk. I think like cinema is always, and the cameras we use and the color packages we use have always been used to benefit white folk. And to just to put a filter on and be like, damn, these people look gorgeous was like really important to me. So that's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's transported for sure. I'm gonna jump to Hannah because she keeps having to go last. So yeah, you're next.
Thank you. So with Soak, it's kind of nice having to or getting to explain this so that the audience gets it, even if maybe they wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah,
But
that's a perfect preface. Yeah.
So the first thing that I told my DP was that I wanted the film to kind of have this sense of being underwater, because it's about this pressure that's coming at our main character from all sides. So we did a lot of tests with different filters, and then we landed on gluing like silk stockings on the lenses to have that like haze effect. And I think that plus being in the sort of like red lights motel district with all the neon lights really created that like hazy, blurry color effect that we were going for. So yeah, and I don't know. We other than that, it was just capturing what was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, silk stockings, like that's awesome. I'm like taking that. That's awesome. So similarly to what you were saying about black bodies and black skin on camera, that is also something I'm very passionate about. Like, if we're going to shoot black people, it needs to be done right. And so I talked to my DP because we're in 1996, and I said, I want the film to have like a texture and color that you almost feel like we're shooting it on a camera that they would have in their home in 1996. So there's like a moodiness to the image that you're immediately like transported into a different time. You're like, where are we? And I want to learn more about that. And I also wanted us to live in a brown color palette. So like all of the colors are like browns and nudes and chocolate. And I don't know, I wanted to create this warm brown world, as well as not being afraid to go dark with the color story. I think sometimes when you go dark, you lose dark brown skin. And I really wanted us to fight to find what does dark and moody look like on that skin tone, and how can we really make that shine and feel interesting. And watching films that kind of play with those techniques, some of like Pariah, the feature, is a film I love, and I love how dark and moody they went without ever losing those faces and that skin tone. So that's something we wanted to try to achieve with this story as well. And yeah, I'm really happy with the results.
I think you nailed it. You'll see. Tell me a little bit more about your senses of place. I feel like each of your films is really settled in where it's at. Obviously, we have some far away journeys, but also I feel like it's in Greyhound. It's really sort of an ode to LA. So from a producerial perspective and your directorial perspectives, how did you build up that sort of really settled sense of geography in each of your pieces?
Yeah, I think for me, I was raised in the city. I was one of the few people raised in Los Angeles, and I remember growing up feeling like I knew the city like the back of my hand. And then you go to college and you learned so much more about the world, and you come back to the city and you realize you knew nothing. And not just that, but like especially in the film industry, there's a layer of this industry and of success that is invisible to the naked eye, right? Most people in the city don't even know it exists. And so that was like a big part of like of the film, of like trying to remember what LA felt like before it feels like it does now. And yeah, it's something that I'm really intrigued by, and I want to keep exploring, because I still feel like I don't know the city at all. I still feel like I'm learning my hometown, so yeah.
How do you location scout for that?
Trust Diante. And I trusted him immensely, and I think when you watch it, it almost feels like a love letter to Los Angeles.
It does.
Whether it's this is crazy, I'm describing it, the shot in the car where you're looking through the sunroof, or it's the end when he's getting out. It's like, it's just, and because it's so beautifully shot in black and white, it's definitely a love letter to Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we had a challenge, right? We were a COVID project involved short. So the rules were 1 location, 2 to 3 characters max. And we are also an LA short. So it was like this question of how do we ground ourselves in 1996 LA without actually going out into LA?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that dealt with, one, choosing the right house, choosing a house where I felt like we could shoot it from all these long, interesting angles to try to make the most out of that space, but also in the production design. That's where I think we really grounded ourselves in this era. So even me like going through family photos, and like in my deck there's a picture of me and my mom when I was like 3. And it was like I wanted to feel like this, or like that purple comforter that every Black person had in their house in the mid-90s. Like we need that. Or like there's a wicker headboard that the production designer like fought to find, because I was like, wicker is Black people in the 90s. Like, I don't care what nobody says. Like, it is true. So that was like the work for us of like making that house and grounding that house in the time and in the city, and trusting that people would like trust us and trust that this is really an LA story, even though we're not outside in LA.
For me, so was the first film I shot in South Korea. And although I grew up there, going back to shoot a movie, you kind of see it through a whole new, different set of eyes. So, like the dirty alleyway suddenly seems so cinematic, and like you start to appreciate all these things, like the tacky tablecloth at the old restaurant. It's like, oh, this color is so great, and so really just making sure that that we captured those details was important, I feel. And then also it was a lot of just like the people, like in Korea at night, you see all these like drunk men, being rowdy and laughing and eating, and we hired extras to have that. Like, I think they are a huge part of making that environment, and just like people smoking on the street and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yep.
Before Project Evolve, like, I was honestly struggling. As a big part of what I was saying about my film Greyhound, like, I was really trying to figure out what this city was again, and I felt like I was trying to find people and things and projects and vibes that, like, were gonna help me grow as an artist. And I was slaving away at, like, the most classic Hollywood job, and I was just tired, and I was burnt out, and this really came along at like the best time of my life, and it really just helped me reshape, I think, everything, my whole artistic process, the kind of people I wanted to work with, the kind of projects I wanted to do. And I think it's given me just like a lot of confidence. I mean, kind of like Winter was saying, all of us are in a COVID classes. And we were the very first one. COVID hit in the middle of our program, right before we were going to film. And so if anything else, has taught me just how to be so resilient, how to be creative, and how to come up with, really, really cool solutions.
Yeah, resourceful.
So I actually applied for Project Evolve years ago for an executive track. I worked at the Oprah Winfrey Network. I was in marketing. I thought that's really what I wanted to do. And then I didn't get in, of course. And then I got some more experience under my belt. I did a couple of series and shorts, and I was like, oh, production is really what I want to do. So I reapplied. And in that time when I reapplied, I also realized that it was time for me to move on from corporate world and really pursue production and writing, being a creative full time. And so the day that I gave notice at the Oprah Winfrey Network was the day I found out I got the project involved. And so,
take that, Oprah.
Wow. Cosmic.
And so through the pandemic and working on so many different projects and with so many different people with in Project Involved and also outside of Project Involved really just equipped me with the experience that I needed to get like those bigger jobs that I wasn't able to get before. And so now I'm in post-production on a documentary that's premiering on Comcast in October, and I came back to help Project Involve for this time, so I produced a short with them that we're a post on, and I'm currently writing a pilot and also pitching an unscripted series. So
Fabulous.
yeah.
Yeah. That's worth a round of applause.
Similarly, I was in LA trying to figure out how to be a creative. I didn't know much about production when I landed because I had an acting background, but I knew the one thing I always said is like I have these images in my head, and if I could just learn the craft of it, I think they could be moving. And so I just hit the ground running, like working in the digital space, producing and directing web series, and then I was really fortunate to be asked to produce a feature called Jezebel alongside the director. And so that really was like a part of my film school journey. I was like, okay, how do you make a low budget feature? Like, what does it take? Like, what is the director really doing on that set with their actors? Like, what does it look like in real time? So that I was really fortunate to get that experience, directed my first short film, which was such a learning experience for me as well. And then I was also working in the digital space at Condé Nast. So I was doing like a lot of celebrity editorial video. So it felt like I was learning a lot about independent, really strong filmmaking, and then also working with these big name talents and learning what it meant to navigate a talent like that and all the folks that come with them, and kind of having these two experiences happening simultaneously. And I knew Project Involved was a fellowship I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be connected to other filmmakers. And so I felt like when I applied and got in, it was just like the right moment. I had just left Condé. Similarly, I was like, I'm walking away from the corporate thing. Like, I want to make movies. And then this came, and I was like, we're making a movie. Like, let's go. And so, yeah, it's been a real blessing. The film's doing really well, and it's helping me quite a bit. I've been able to get my reps. I'm taking meetings for a few features right now. I just shadowed on a Pepsi commercial, so I'm trying to get that commercial money. Just trying to get all the things going, right? So, yeah.
Great. You're in the midst of it. Yeah, it's a different question for you. Yeah.
Yes. The project involved, I think I was going a little bit stir crazy after I graduated, and it was the pandemic, and it was mostly just like writing, like write that feature script. And then finally, like, this gave me a chance to reconnect with the crew, actors, and be back on set. And honestly, like, I was really nervous because I felt like I had become rusty over the past 2 years, but it was like such a good feeling just to be like there with the DP and your actors and shot listing. So yeah, it's really grateful for the experience, and we're still in post for my Project Involved project, but also developing a TV show, and also hope to get my feature made pretty soon.
Fabulous. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk beforehand. And actually, no, it was nice to learn a little bit more about you just as artists and where you're at and how Project Involved has served you, and tease your films that we're about to see. So a big round of applause for all of our